by a letter dated 14 May 2025, the new leadership of IOCO requested the OSP to forward the docket back to IOCO for a review and commencement of investigation. Under the cover of communication dated 29 May 2025, the OSP forwarded the duplicate docket of the case back to IOCO. It is our considered opinion that the docket serves as a valuable background resource for IOCO to commence its own investigation in respect of aspects of the case the OSP does not have a direct mandate. The OSP would lend its full collaborative support to IOCO in its review and investigation and probable further action. Number 2, Republic against Charles Bissiou and another. On 28 April 2025, the OSP filed criminal charges against Charles Bissiou, the Secretary of the disbanded Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, and Andy Thomas Owusu, in respect of 15 counts of corruption and corruption-related offenses. Subsequently, Andy Thomas Owusu, the second accused, has since negotiated a plea bargain with the OSP, which has been filed in court. The processes in respect of the plea bargain, which are restitutive and reparative in nature, would be concluded in court in the coming days. The Special Prosecutor accepted Andy Thomas Owusu's offer of restitution and reparation to the Republic on the following considerations in accordance with Section 71(4) of the Office of the Special Prosecutor Act 2017, Act 959. One, the history of Mr. Owusu with respect to criminal activity, the level of cooperation Mr. Owusu exhibited during the investigation, the likelihood of obtaining a conviction if the case proceeds to trial, the probable effect on witnesses of a trial, and the need to avoid delay in the disposition of other pending cases. 3, National Petroleum Authority. In November 2024, the OSP commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses in respect of the operations of National Petroleum Authority, NPA, and the activities of some of its officials. The OSP investigation has revealed that between 2022 and 2024, some high-ranking and other officials of NPA devised and implemented a corrupt scheme of using public office for profit through threats, intimidation, coercion, suggestions, bribery, and inordinate regulatory duress to obtain, for their personal benefit, large sums of money from oil marketing companies and other entities under their statutory regulatory, licensing, oversight, and monitoring mandates in the petroleum downstream industry. As at the close of business on 30 May 2025, the OSP had uncovered, through tracing and trailing, an amount of 280,516,127 cedis and 19 pesos, being proceeds of the corrupt scheme, some of which has been used by the perpetrators to acquire identified and traced apartments, suites, houses in country and abroad, 22 fuel haulage trucks, and the incorporation, acquisition, and operation of oil marketing companies to compete with the oil marketing companies they were regulating. The OSP, before the end of June, would file criminal charges against the first batch of the perpetrators and complicit oil marketing companies and their officials. Upon filing, we will brief you in detail in respect of who did what, who acquired what, and what has been recovered. 4. Kenneth Ofori-Atta. We recall that by a letter dated 24 June 2025, Kenneth Ofori-Atta, a former Minister of Finance, was informed that the OSP had commenced investigation into suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses regarding cases in respect of which the OSP considered him a suspect. Further, he was directed to attend in person the OSP on 10 February 2025 for interviewing. Mr. Ofori-Atta was out of the jurisdiction at the time. By a letter dated 31 January 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta informed the OSP, through his lawyers, that he was out of the jurisdiction indefinitely on medical grounds, and that the firm will notify the office of his arrival in the country in aid of rescheduling his personal attendance at the OSP. Further, the lawyers offered its willingness to provide the OSP with any information we may require to aid in the investigation until his arrival in the country. Upon receipt of these representations from his lawyers, the OSP, by a letter dated 5 February 2025, informed Mr. Ofori-Atta that the OSP did not need or required notification from his lawyers of his future arrival in the jurisdiction. The OSP acknowledged his lawyers' offer to provide us with information in aid of the investigation. However, the OSP insisted that his personal attendance at the OSP was required. The OSP directed Mr. Ofori-Atta to indicate by close of business on 10 February 2025 a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. The OSP warned him that if he failed to do so, the OSP would take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at our own choosing. Mr. Ofori-Atta failed to indicate a reasonable date of his return to the jurisdiction upon the expiry of the 10 February 2025 deadline, except to still persist in his expressed intent of remaining indefinitely outside the jurisdiction by the transmission of his lawyers of a purported and brusque medical letter on 10 February 2025, which only sought, in effect, to state that he may undergo a possible surgical intervention in March 2025. In the considered opinion of the OSP, that medical letter could not be held to be a disclosure of a reasonable date of Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP, since it merely indicated that there may be a possible surgical intervention that may or may not occur in March. The letter, which was in no way a medical report, neither stated nor demonstrated that Mr. Ofori-Atta was a travel risk or that he was an invalid who needed around-the-clock intense medical attention to the point that traveling to the jurisdiction would endanger his life. Upon the expiry of the 10 February 2025 deadline, the Special Prosecutor publicly declared Mr. Ofori-Atta a wanted person and a fugitive from justice on 12 February 2025, on the ground that his avowed posture of remaining indefinitely outside the jurisdiction, without indicating a reasonable time of his return to the jurisdiction, showed clearly that he had no intention of voluntarily returning to the jurisdiction. By a letter dated 17 February 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers transmitted to the Special Prosecutor a communication laced with vituperation and designed variously as a denigration of the OSP, a lecture on their suppositions as to the mandate of the OSP, a threat of legal action, a sort of homily as to how the OSP should conduct its affairs, an attack on the person of the Special Prosecutor, and a suggestion that the Special Prosecutor had embarked on a personal vendetta against Mr. Ofori-Atta without disclosing the alleged series of retaliatory, vengeful, or hostile acts the Special Prosecutor had directed at him, or alleged exchange of such acts between Mr. Ofori-Atta and the Special Prosecutor. Crucially, a 17 February 2025 letter from Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers failed to indicate a reasonable date of Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP. On this reckoning, the OSP, by a letter dated 17 February 2025, reaffirmed and restated to Mr. Ofori-Atta that he remained a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. The OSP further stated that this tag will so remain until he indicated a reasonable time of his return to the jurisdiction, with the necessary and reasonable assurances of abiding by his indicated reasonable time, or until such time that the OSP enforce his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP, whichever came first. By a letter dated 18 February 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers communicated to the OSP that he was scheduled for a possible surgical intervention in the United States on 20 and 21 March 2025, and further that, taking the date of the possible surgical intervention into account, he would require a recovery period of 6 to 8 weeks. On this basis, his lawyer stated that he should be able to return to the jurisdiction between 14 and 30 May 2025. On the same day, by a letter dated 18 February 2025, the OSP graciously acceded to Mr. Ofori-Atta's request to return voluntarily to the jurisdiction between 14 and 30 May 2025, as the office deemed the indicated recovery period reasonable in the circumstances. Consequently, the OSP removed Mr. Ofori-Atta's name from the list of wanted persons pending his voluntary return to the jurisdiction based on his own indicated dates. Consequently, the OSP directed Mr. Ofori-Atta to attend the OSP in person on Monday, 2 June 2025 at 13:30 GMT for interview, which is today. The OSP emphasized that if he failed to voluntarily return to the jurisdiction within his stated dates, and if he failed to attend the OSP on the rescheduled date of Monday, 2 June 2025 at 13:30 GMT, his name will be re-entered on the list of wanted persons, and the OSP will consider him a fugitive from justice, whereupon the office will take all necessary legal steps to secure his return to the jurisdiction and attendance at the OSP at our own choosing. Then, by a letter dated 28 May 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers informed the Special Prosecutor that a medical expert has diagnosed Mr. Ofori-Atta with cancer and has earmarked 13 June 2025 for surgery, for which reason he would be unable to return to the jurisdiction as scheduled. His lawyer stated that to the knowledge of the OSP, this change in circumstances has been brought to the attention of the court, before which Mr. Ofori-Atta is presently pursuing a human rights claim against the OSP and the Special Prosecutor. His lawyer stated further that in order not to hold the office back in the performance of his function, they had Mr. Ofori-Atta's instructions of his readiness to go through video recorded interview for the purpose of eliciting his caution statement. His lawyers offered to meet the Special Prosecutor in person or approach the bench for the purpose of viewing Mr. Ofori-Atta's biopsy report, whichever suited the Special Prosecutor. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the media, this is where we are now. Now let us step back a bit from the 28 May 2025 letter from Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers and place the matters in their proper context. I have intentionally went through a tedious timeline. The letter from Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyers, dated 18 February 2025, clearly indicated that the possible surgical intervention to be performed on him was to occur on 20 and 21 March 2025, upon which reckoning the OSP carefully considered the recovery period and indulgently pushed Mr. Ofori-Atta's attendance at the OSP to 2 June 2025. Therefore, Mr. Ofori-Atta had a duty to promptly inform the OSP of any fundamental change in his medical circumstances on 21 March 2025, when the advertised surgical intervention was not performed, to enable the OSP reschedule a new date of his attendance at the OSP to accommodate any such material changes in his medical condition and treatment itinerary. Mr. Ofori-Atta has known, at least since 21 March 2025, that no surgical procedure was to be performed on him in March. Yet, he purposely sat by indolently and chose not to inform the OSP of such fundamental changes in his circumstances. Instead, about 67 days after learning of the alleged changed circumstances around 21 March 2025, Mr. Ofori-Atta elected to spring a surprise on the OSP on 28 May 2025, just 6 days before his scheduled attendance at the OSP, by offering to undergo a video-recorded interview and a viewing of his biopsy report. Now, back to the 28 May 2025 letter from the lawyers of Mr. Ofori-Atta. As I said, this is where we are. By a letter dated 30 May 2025, the OSP declined Mr. Ofori-Atta's offer of video-recorded interview for the purpose of eliciting his caution statement. This office has always insisted on his personal attendance, and we have indicated clearly to him that we are unwilling to waive it. If we were amenable to taking any such statement from Mr. Ofori-Atta in absentia, we would have done so in February and not waited to 2 June 2025. We want him here physically, and we insist on it. A suspect in a criminal investigation does not pick and choose how the investigative authority should conduct its investigations and the method suitable to him and his convenience. We will not countenance such conduct, not in this case or in any other case. Further, the OSP has declined Mr. Ofori-Atta's invitation to view his biopsy report, as we consider it a pointless exercise. This is because it is common learning that the biopsy report contains nothing more than a conclusion upon the removal and examination of tissue, cells, or fluids from a living body that some disease or malady was indicated in the samples taken. A biopsy report is not an expression of a reasoned medical opinion that the subject of the report is an invalid and unable to travel, as Mr. Ofori-Atta seeks to suggest is his condition, and for which reason he says he cannot return to the jurisdiction. This much is clear. Since 24 January 2025 till date, Mr. Ofori-Atta has failed to show any medical report. I underline, he has failed to show any medical report which suggests that he is a travel risk and unable to return to the jurisdiction by reason of his medical condition. It has all been his say-so, his singular say-so. Therefore, the OSP views Mr. Ofori-Atta's lawyer's letter dated 28 May 2025 as an expression of utter bad faith on the part of Mr. Ofori-Atta, and it confirms our long-held, well-considered opinion and conclusion that Mr. Ofori-Atta has no intention of voluntarily returning to the jurisdiction and to attend the OSP. Further, this office is unaware of his purported information to the court, whether orally or by filed processes, of the alleged change in his circumstances. Today is Monday, 2 June 2025. It is more than 3 hours past the scheduled time of Mr. Ofori-Atta's attendance at the OSP, and Mr. Ofori-Atta failed to attend the OSP today. Mr. Ofori-Atta's conduct is totally unacceptable and a baleful spite at law enforcement and criminal investigations. It ends here. It ends today. We will no longer accommodate him. Consequently, the OSP redeclares that Mr. Ofori-Atta is a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. His name is hereby re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure Mr. Ofori-Atta's return to the jurisdiction and to answer to the criminal inquiries against him. In pursuance of this, about 30 minutes before this briefing, I triggered processes for the issuance of an INTERPOL Red Notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Ofori-Atta in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender. Around the same time, I dispatched a request for extradition processes to be instituted for the provisional apprehension in any jurisdiction in which Mr. Ofori-Atta may be located or found, and his extradition to the Republic of Ghana. The OSP will prefer criminal charges in the courts against Mr. Ofori-Atta in due course, whether in absentia or otherwise. The principle upon which we proceed is that no person, regardless of title, regardless of status, regardless of medical condition, is beyond the reach of inquiry by the OSP. Thank you for coming.